Wanted to touch base with the kid discussion, how it's going so far. Some really interesting thoughts are being shared, and I just wanted to give you my reaction so far, and some things to think about as you continue the discussion throughout the week. One of the things I want you to think about and remind you when you're approaching these discussion questions, when you're talking about realism and formalism, again, just like we talked about in class, don't confuse realism with realistic. So think about what Chaplin's doing with the camera, and if he's using realism, think about the camera shots, the angles, the distances, the movement or lack thereof, and how he's using that to present the film as realism. And then conversely, think about how he's doing that in terms of formalism. So don't just focus on the plot. I've read all the posts. I didn't respond to all of them. I just don't have time to respond to all of them. So that's why I'm doing this large class response. But I wanted to give you feedback. Jill mentioned Chaplin's use of facial expressions. That's a great observation. This is the silent era of film. So really what distinguished the good actors and the good filmmakers during the silent era of film is their use of facial expressions. So oftentimes the camera will get much closer in silent films so that the actors can communicate so much through their facial expressions. Abital mentioned the use of themes. So I want you to think about the film's themes as you continue your discussion. Chaplin's really making some pretty bold statements on both morality and social status. So think about what Chaplin's saying about the relationship between personal morals and one's social status. In terms of realism and formalism, most people got the easily identified big element of formalism, which was the dream sequence. But think about how part of formalism is manipulation of time and space. Remember, we watched that example from The Matrix where you weren't quite sure if it was a dream or not. Think about the shot right before and the shot right after. Go back and look at the film and skip ahead to that sequence if you need to. Give it like a minute to load the whole film up. But then you can skip ahead to that and look at the shot before and the shot after. And think about what Chaplin's doing as far as time and space. So that's the essence of formalism. Is time and space and the manipulation thereof, or is he not manipulating time and space at all? Do the shots before and after really lead right in to let the viewer know right away this is a dream sequence? There is another shot early on in the film that's a great use of formalism. One person so far in the post identified that shot, although I don't know if he misspoke or not. He said it was realism, but this shot early on in the film is a very subtle use of formalism with lighting. If you don't get it, I'll definitely show it to you in class when we meet again in person next week, and we'll talk about it. Robert mentioned Christian themes. Chaplin's mother was a devout Christian, and so he was raised that way. So Christian themes play a large role in his films, and The Kid is no exception. So think about that, and think about that as it relates to that question I asked a minute ago. What is Chaplin saying about the relationship between personal morality and social status? Because they play a big role in the film. A couple of you did a really good job of identifying themes and motifs. Like I said, morality, social status are big-time themes. Chaplin uses a couple of motifs to communicate those themes. What might they be? Some of you, when you got hung up on like basic simple things on motifs like a lot of chasing and a lot of physical comedy, those aren't really motifs. Those are things that Chaplin uses. They're reoccurring elements of the film, but motifs represent a larger idea. So they really represent the main themes that Chaplin is trying to communicate. So think about that as we move forward in this discussion.